you was talking about how you didn't get features.
Oh yeah. Okay, so when I was introduced to the poetry community, Atlanta was gangster. It was thugged out gangster.
Mm.
You didn't get on nobody, Mike. They would boo your ass off of there. It was. I was like, the first time I went to a poetry, I was like, shit, I'm shook. I'm not getting up there doing nothing.
Right.
I want to say the first show I went to was at a spot off Renaissance, in Atlanta, and it was Johannes Sharif, Q Swan, Akil, Cola Rum, and a couple other folk, and it was like, why is everybody so angry? I thought poetry was supposed to be, light and
See,
birds.
you know what's funny? What you just said about poetry? That's why, like, a lot of times I hear albums and they have a poet up there, I'm like, this is not the proper represent. That is poetry, but that's not poetry in its totality. It's not.
Right.
It's not a full gamut of what poetry is.
Right.
They always have love is like da 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 da.
And I'm
That's
like,
not.
oh no,
No, that's one piece, but
right. And I know poets who don't do love poetry at all.
Yeah,
like, I don't do no love poetry. Nah, fuck that. But it was, and then going to Yin Yang, which became Apache, but Yin Yang was a whole nother beast.
Right.
You better not.
Well, let me ask you this, because I wasn't here then, right? How do you, as a person who's trying to come up in poetry, how do you get good enough to get there if you're getting shitted on before you get to that level?
Here's the thing: you didn't get shitted on if you didn't get on the stage.
No. What I'm telling you.
No, but I'm saying that the problem was this: if you got on the stage, you were gonna get shitted on. But I think the only thing I miss about those gangster days is, we're in a kind of
Everybody get a trophy.
Place. Yes, you took it out of my brain. Everybody get a trophy right now. There was a lot more respect for the game back then, because what it was this: is if you don't have anything to say,
sit your ass down.
Sit your ass down. Right. Get on this mic.
Right.
And so, like the Patty Hut is where I got a chance to hear John Good and everything else. So I knew all of these people, not because I was doing poetry, but I was always in the spot. Now, they didn't know who I was. They wouldn't, never knew that I knew who they were. So I was singing with my band company. And so a lot of times we would get gigs at poetry spots. So I'm the chick that sings. I wasn't a poet. I was just the chick that sang at the poetry spot. Okay, well, she doing some neo soul, doing some whatever. Okay, cool. She good. And it was like, somebody was like, she do poetry. No, I don't. Don't put me out there, kind of thing. But what it made me do.
You ain't want that rap.
I don't want them problems. But what I figured out was, if I really wanted to do this poetry thing, and I really respected this poetry thing, then I had to study poetry. So I went to the venues. I listened. I learned. I heard. I was like, okay, all right, cool. I see, and I could get a kind of collective feeling of how Atlanta's scene was and how there were multiple scenes. Like, I didn't realize that was like, damn, there's different sets of poets. So you had like Ebony Poets over here. You had Live Poet Society over here. You had the United Colors of Benetton when you had things like Kodak Harrison when he had the Margaret Mitchell House, and then Java. And then Slam became a thing, and so it was a different type venue. The first time I ever performed anything was not my own work. I was asked by a poet named Ayodele. His name is Marvin Heath. He was the first Atlanta Slam master. In a stage play I was doing, instead of them having the band just play between scenes, they actually had a poet perform.
Oh, okay.
And so he was performing poetry between the scenes, and he asked me, he said, hey, for National Poetry Month at the Blue Milk Paradigm, which was off of Spring, he said, I want to do poets coming to do tributes to other poets. So he gave me Maya Angelou.
That's dope.
And so it was like, like somebody had Saul Williams, somebody had Maya, I had Maya Angelou, different stuff. So we want to do a tribute to their stuff. He said, but he specifically did not pick poets. He picked actors and actresses so that they could actually. Ayodele is a very physical performer, and he wanted that kind of physical performance kind of thing. And he was like, if we could just do that, can you do that for me? And I said, sure. So he had expectation of us coming and doing just dramatic readings. I can't work like that because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I memorized the pieces. They were Maya pieces, and he picked obscure pieces for Maya Angelou. So it wasn't the typical "and still I rise" kind of thing, that kind of thing. So I had like the shoe shine poem and other different stuff. So with the shoe shine poem, I actually pulled out my shoe shine rag and was like, performing it. He was like, one, I didn't know you were going to memorize the pieces. Oh my gosh. Two, you had props. Like, this was the bomb.
Right.
But it was really awesome to do it. And I got invited by Kodak. He was there that night to do the same performance at the Margaret Mitchell House. And it was the first time they'd ever had a cover poet at Margaret Mitchell. And so it was like, once I got comfortable in front of these people,
you can go anywhere.
You could do anything. And so the thing was, I was comfortable with music. I was comfortable with acting. They got to cut their grass. Look. And so the biggest piece of that ended up being meeting John Good. And John said something to me that cleared everything for me. He simply said, write like you. Speak like you.
When did he say that to you?
This had to be like...
Was you already performing at the time? Your own poems? Okay.
He knew that I sang and I performed poetry, but I've always been a huge supporter of poets. Like, when everybody had their little bootleg CDs, I had everybody's CD. I had multiple copies of everybody's CD because I would give them to other people or sell them to other people or whatever. Like, I remember when Big Mink, who is Malachi, came out, and he used to do this song, I'm a troubled man with dirt on my collar. How can I pay my rent when people scared of my color and my nappy hair? I used to love him. But he had these $5 holler little CDs that you could get. I know I bought like 700 of them things. Every time I saw him, I bought like 10, 15 of them. Because I felt like everybody needed
he's talented.
to hear. He is.
He's talented.
I felt like everybody needed to hear this cat, right? And so I would, buy CDs from everybody. So I was in good with everybody because I was buying CDs and product from everybody. And I think I gave a poem to John Good or something. And he was like, you should perform poetry. I was like, but I'd be scared though. And he was like, no, really, you should. And I started going. I went to a spot. There was a poet named Andrea Mills. She had a spot in Decatur. And I went to her spot and I started getting on the mic there. I figured it was far enough out, then nobody was new, and then nobody know me, and I could do some stuff there. Right. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth and kind of practiced.
That's what I did
with stuff. Let me go out here and play with some stuff. I ain't going to the big spot. I ain't going over there. Let me come over here and play with it and figure out what my voice is. And then Andrea was working.
Isn't it crazy? You got to do it that way.
You got to figure it out. Because
if you don't, you get crushed.
You will.
I went to Apache and I didn't know Apache was Apache the first time I went, and I got treated right, but I didn't know. If I knew, that probably would have made me be like
a little.
Yeah. I didn't know, but once I got off stage, the energy, I was like, yo, it's different in here, yo, it's different. You know what I mean? I need to like be on my A game before I come back. So I didn't come back for years. But yeah.
I'm trying to see, did I ever go back over there? I think I performed over there by default because I went over there and I had to do a concert. Yeah. But it was music and I just kind of threw some poetry in with it. But Andrea at the time worked at V103. She was doing The Quiet Storm with Joyce Littell, and she was doing poetry up there. And that's how I met Joyce. And then she put together the Queens of Poetry. And so it was Andrea Mills, Bonnie Harvey, Shazon Jackson, and me. And it was kind of my first opportunity to get to perform on some larger stages, doing poetry kind of thing. And it was funky because I had been on stages forever. I do stage plays, and I was traveling all over the world with my band. So I'm doing.
What's the name of your band?
The band at the time was Company, Kompani.
What about them? Why they can't do the album?
Company does not exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
So my son's father was my band director.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what's funny? When I said why, your energy shifted a little bit. Like, fuck it. Yeah. It's like you bit the back of your tongue, like have your tongue over here.
And you know what's crazy? It's not like he wouldn't do it.
Right.
He would, but he's in Tennessee now.
Oh, okay.
But
that's not that far. You can try down there and knock it out. You know what I mean? Y'all can meet halfway. Get a bit of studio halfway.
We always meet halfway when we exchange the child.
Yeah.
But it was different. Like, if I step on stage, and I've opened for Rochelle Farrell and the Rippingtons and Joe Sample and, just any, all these other people, it's different in music. It's a different thing. I feel way more comfortable in music than I do anything else.
Then poetry?
At that time?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even now, I probably feel more comfortable with that.
Do me a favor, go in detail how, because you touched on it some, but make me feel like I was dead. Like, what was happening in these infamous poetry spots back in the day?
Folk would get on stage, first of all, you would have posers, people who come in. I don't know why people thought people didn't know certain things. Like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do this poem that's somebody else's. And, like, we couldn't tell
I heard somebody was doing it to John Good.
Man,
getting shows and everything.
It's got with John, this dude, it got really bad. So this dude was performing John's pieces, right? As his own. It wasn't like he was saying, I really love this dope John Good piece, let me perform this. Nah, he was straight up doing John Good's pieces, right?
Why would you do that? That's sick.
Oh, it gets worse. He was publishing books of John Good's shit. And so it's so funny because John and I became good friends.
Yo,
and I was on Facebook.
John Good, you the first person that had somebody in portrait, had somebody stalk his shit.
I was like, this is crazy. And so I sent it when I saw this poem. I saw it was a video of this poem called "The Librarian," where John is talking about somebody needs to get on the she needs to go on the lawn of the White House and be like, shh. It was to get. I love this poem, right? So I saw the video, and it wasn't just that he copied the poem; he copied the prelude or the preamble of the poem. So what John says before the poem, he had it word for word.
I know why he was still able to do that back then, because we didn't have all this technology, cameras, and everything, so nobody don't knew how people look.
So
am I wrong?
Well, we were coming up on that.
Okay, I'm
because
sorry.
We had just gotten into that whole Facebook age.
And
I was sitting like this, and I looked when we happen to be friends on Facebook, and so this dude posts this video, and I was like, the fuck?
Who's the dude? Can you say his name, please?
I don't even remember his full name because it was something. I know King was in his name. Something.
Shit.
And so I was sitting there like, wait a minute. And I kept looking at the video.
His name was Steve King. That's his name.
It should have been. I was like, and so I post, it's on Facebook. So I go under the post and I said, ain't this John Good's poem? And then I get blocked.
Did you tag John Good?
Yeah, I did. I tagged him, but I got blocked, right? So it's like, as soon as I say, ain't this John Good's poem? Blocked. Nigga, I got 3 Facebook pages. I'll go back to the other one. And so I sent a text to John. I said, John, there's this dude who got your piece out here. It's a whole ass video. He got a video of your piece. And John said, is it? And said the guy's name. I said, yes. He said, this motherfucker. He said he's done it before. And so when I went back to his page, if there were 30 poems out there, 28 of them were John's. I said, he's got all your work out here. So I did a post on Facebook and I tagged every poet I knew. And when I tagged everybody that I knew, they all went to his page and then started doing Google searches. He had books on Amazon. He had, there were sites all over everywhere, all kinds of stuff.
That's nasty.
And so what John ended up having to do, he had a YouTube thing. John reported to Amazon, to YouTube, to Barnes & Noble, to all these other places. And then he had his attorney send a cease and desist to this guy. And the guy was all shook because, like on some of them pages, you put your phone number. He was getting death threats, all sorts of everybody, the swarm. This was like the original Beehive.
Right.
It was like, oh no, not John Good, not the ATL poet, not one of our own kind of thing. And so he ended up calling John and apologizing and asking if he could tell us to stand down because we was coming for his jugular. And so he took down all the site. He had to take down all the stuff. They had reported him to Amazon, so any revenue had to be reverted to John and not him because he had falsely published all this stuff. It's like you did a whole books
That's nasty,
of
bro.
all of John's stuff. And his whole excuse was just, he just so admired John and the way that people gravitated to John and how people loved him so much. And he said, and I wanted to be an amazing poet like you, and and it was like, but you can't be me.
Yeah.
You can be an amazing poet like you, but
Yeah.
you can't just take my blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. Did he even write poetry at all?
I think he said he did, but everything he did was suspect. After that, it was like everything.
I wish you knew his name. Find his name.
I'm gonna find his name. I'm gonna send it to you because I know it's in my Facebook memory somewhere, but I will send you the dude's name. But it was like crazy because I've never seen anything like that in my life. I was like, for real.
That's
like
nasty,
I was
bro.
at Yin Yang, and a dude got on the mic at Yin Yang and started doing this poem, and everybody was like, "Nigga, you doing You Must Learn?" He was doing You Must Learn. You must learn.
Oh, you KRS-One?
Do we not know KRS? You think in Georgia, in Atlanta, we so country in Atlanta, we don't know who KRS-One is.
Oh, shit.
I was like, everybody was like, and then everybody just started saying the poem with it. Like, okay, if we're going to do it, let's do it.
Yeah.
And everybody started, so he was kind of like, oh, shit.
Why would he?
They all know.
That's sick, yo. I would never do no shit like that.
I went somewhere and somebody was doing, I went to a house party.
Mm-hmm.
It was a birthday party for a poet. And he got up there to tell me about his new piece, telling everybody about his new piece. And I was sitting next to a guy and I was like, I've heard, like, it was like deja vu. But I had just bought this DVD. It was a Talam AC DVD where it was live.
Mm-hmm.
Talam had just finished a mini tour in Atlanta. So we all know who Talam is.
Right.
And he was doing this piece. He said, I usually don't do such and such. I mean, it was the same. You memorized his little talk before the poem, too.
That's nasty.
And did the poem, and I was like, and so he was doing the poem, and I started saying certain pieces of the poem with him. They were like, "Is this brand new? How you know the words to this poem?" I said, "It's a Talam AC poem. This ain't his poem." And it was like, I was done with him forever. I said, I'm good. Because now everything you write, or everything, I don't know if you wrote it or not. It's all suspect to me now.
You know what's funny you saying that? I feel like some rappers do that with us. I think they steal concepts and different things and stuff like that.
Like, I don't mind you grabbing a line, because there's some poets who, there's some rappers who have some dope lines. Like, if you can do what's, in music called a variation and fugue, that means it's the same basic concept, but you twist it and you play with it kind of thing.
I can deal with that.
So if you take a line and you want to twist and blur that, do all, okay, show me something creative with the line, but don't just quote another rapper to me. Because if I wanted you to quote that other rapper, if I want you to quote Big, I'm going to go listen to Big.
Yeah.
I'm going to go listen to Pac. I'm going to go listen to Wu-Tang. I'm going to go listen to 3 6 Mafia. I'm going to go listen to... I don't need you to give me a whole quote of this if you ain't going to do nothing with it.
Right. Or, another thing I say, like, a lot of times poets, they be trying to, like, mimic other poets. It's like, bro, you can't, like, I don't need another Big Fix. I know who Big Fix is. Right. I don't know really another rareEpiphany. I know who the fuck rareEpiphany. I don't need another Teresa Songbird. I know I don't need another fucking Georgia Me. I know who Georgia Me is. You gotta do you.
Right.
You don't have to be a fake version of Mr. B-Rock or Sincere or anybody else. Just be you. Now, you can admire these people and aspire to be something like that.
Right.
But when you using the same cadence and shit like that, that shit is nasty, bro.
It is, because you robbed somebody, but you robbed yourself, and you robbed your audience of listening to your voice.
I love that, bro. I love that line.
You robbed
I'm ready to write that down right now. That's gonna be in the poem.
Right. Kick it. But it really is. It's like, now you cheated me of the chance to get to see you.
No stuff.
Like, I don't get to see who you
the
are,
depths of who you can be,
think.
And you get to miss out who you can be.
Right,
you robbing it. Yeah, you robbing yourself.
You have so covered up your whole voice. You so disguised your voice that you don't even know what your voice is. And that's why I said I took to heart that advice from John was that there is only one you.
Most definitely.
You think like you. Your experiences are yours.
Most definitely.
And you can convey your experiences unlike anybody else. So for me, what made me uncomfortable was I came up in an era where love poetry was not the shit. Like nobody. I think what ended up happening was Love Jones came out,
Oh, okay.
which is a movie poets love to hate because yay, it got poetry kind of out there mainstream, but that's how we ended up in this everybody get a trophy kind of era where everybody wanted to do everybody want to be a poet. I want to talk like this and say this word and do it like this, and I ain't really got nothing to say, but I want to get on this mic and get my 5 seconds of fame. And it was kind of like, oh God, no, don't do this kind of thing, because for some of this is our life. And you know, like the old song, last night a DJ saved my life.
What's that?
There have
I love
been
that song.
many nights that a poet saved my life, and I'll be like, last night a poet saved my life. Okay. And had that poet not said something, you know, that really turned it around for me, it made sense. I have been in poetry venues where Teresa Davis, she took me all the way out with a poem. I was done. I was spent. It was a wrap, and it was crazy to me how words could do that.
Most definitely.
How the mixture of griot, telling your story kind of thing, how it just penetrates, and how you understand that it's not just you. Whatever that thing is you went through wasn't just for you.
Most definitely.
It is a lesson for you and for everybody else around you. And once you give that lesson, once you say those words, once you put that out there, you can change the mood for somebody.
Right.
You can change the trajectory of somebody's life.
Most definitely. And you're not just that. You give yourself power by speaking out, and you give everybody else power.
Right.
To add, well, not just that, just to add on to what you're saying. Yeah, that's what you basically
But just to even, you know, to let them understand it's okay. Like,
and it will be okay.
Some things are ugly, and
like the guy stealing John Good shit.
Right.
That's ugly.
That's ugly. I'm like, dude, really? It's ugly.
Man.
But there's some things that need to be said, need to be voiced. I had a therapist one time who used to say, if you ever lived in a space that had roaches, you know how you cut the light on and they scatter? It's because they congregate in the dark. You can't dispel that shit till you flip the light switch on.
Most definitely.
And when you step on a mic and you turn on the lights, you free yourself and you free other people who may be going through the same shit, but they might not have the power of words to be able to say that thing, to give it something physical and put it out there. But now you did that for them, and they're like, yes, I have something I can call it. Yes, it's out there, and it's not just me. Because that's one of the things I think about with evil or the devil or whatever you want to call it, is the enemy goal is to make you think you're by yourself.
Most definitely.
I'm gonna isolate you. It's just you.
Right.
You just going through this. It's just all about you. That's what that is. And it's like, no, it's not. There's nothing new under the sun.
Most definitely.
Now, I enjoy listening to poetry probably more than I enjoy performing.
I enjoy listening to it too.
I love sitting and listening to poets and like, why could I not have written that?
Can I say something to you? It's something I disagree with, and I had this conversation with a couple different. I had a conversation like this with Dichotomy, and I believe Georgia and me too. I believe in a way where as though it's like everybody don't get the award in a way like this. If you're on an open mic and you have B-Rock, you, Teresa the Songbird, Big Fitz, who else are killing? Sabrine, Jolly, anybody you could think of, John Good, and you come up there and you ain't on your shit, you gonna not get the trophy that night.
This is true.
This is my thought process. Like, every time you get on the mic in Atlanta, it's so many motherfuckers down here. It's so many people. This dope down here that you can't get no fake award at the right time because you don't know who gonna be on that open mic that night.
True.
Am I wrong?
But I think in terms of the award, yeah, like it depends on what the trophy is.
Okay.
So sometimes for some people the trophy is just I get your attention for a few minutes.
I got you.
And so for some people it's I get some applause.
Right,
Because you're always gonna get somebody who gonna be go in poet, and I be like go in where? Because he ain't saying shit.
Right.
But I mean, you know,
Right.
but it's kind of as long as I get that temporary applause, even if I'm not discerning that it's fake applause, it's just kind of okay, yeah, you got on the mic, get out the way, kind of thing. There's some nights
I understand
you're
what you're
gonna
saying.
take a L.
You basically saying some people here like I'm here to try to like put my part in to help lift this shit up. That's my part. I want to do that. I want to help. I can't do it by myself. It take all of us to do it. There's some people here want to help. Some people want to get money. Some people want to go on tours. Some people want to go on features. And then some people just they cool with the.
I just want y'all to hear me,
and that's enough.
and that's it.
And sadly, some of those people are getting opportunities that the real people who are supposed to get opportunities. I get you.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody's motivation is different. Everybody's prize, everybody's trophy is different. If I'm on a show, I did the Dirty South takeover for Bo Ward. That show was full of killers.
Yes, it was. I saw it.
I was like, the fuck I'm on here for? Like, you know, in my head, because I'm like, George and me on here. What? Again? The fuck I'm on here for?
Yeah,
so, you know, I'm sitting up here looking like...
Yeah, it was some... I saw the list. I was like, damn. See, this is the thing. When you see a list like that, you gotta know, it's gonna be for real.
Right.
You gotta come like, you can't be up there like, trying some new shit that day.
That part. Not doing no. We ain't coming out. I just wrote this new poem and I want to try this out on. Not today.
Yeah.
We're going to pick another time for that. There's a time and a place for that. But what it is I think the beautiful thing about that is you get to hear they are all killers in their own right, but they all have a different voice.
Most definitely.
Like there's a Moody Black.
Yeah.
Is different from, you know, a Big Fitz. It's different from a Georgia Me. It's different from... So you get to hear all of these different voices. There was a couple of people I had never heard of, but I knew by virtue of the list, if you on this list, then your ass is dope.
Most definitely.
You know, so it gives you more reason to be you. Like, the only thing I can bring to this table
is
me. And that's what's different.
And it's funny, right? One of the conversations we was having with, right, we was basically saying, like, I know the only thing I got to do, like, when I'm with another dope poet, if I'm in a feature with another dope poets, right, all I got to do is just be me. Right. Because you can't beat me at me. Ain't
no competition in that. You can't be more rare than rare.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
It is. And
it's funny you said rare because I looked up your name and I know you the best.
For sure.
Why you ain't use that last name?
That is my name.
I know.
You know.
It's dope though.
My name is, and my middle initial is D, so I'm Pamela D Best.
That's dope.
And that was my mama's doing.
Yeah.
But it was the best. And rareEpiphany, it was one of the dope things about poetry is you get the opportunity to name yourself.
This is true.
And it's like you've been named something else that somebody else chose for you all the time. But it's this opportunity where I can name myself. Yeah. And, you know, I took rare as unique. I'm just me. How I think is how I think. How I write is how I write. Right. Epiphany is like a divine revelation.
Oh, I like your name. It's a dope. Did you have another name before this?
No. This has always been my name.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I tell this story a lot. People who watch this interview, they probably say, I heard this story before. I didn't notice how blessed I was to be here with all killers and aliens until I started going to different states. Ooh. When I started going to different states, I'm like, what, this?
Exactly.
I'm ready to go up here and kill this shit. This is light work tonight.
Yeah.
Because you start going other places and you realize, like, oh, it's like, I'm not saying it's just Georgia, but Georgia prep you for anything.
Georgia's unique in that you know, we're in the Black Mecca. So we get people, the best and brightest, from everywhere, which is why Bo could do a Dirty South takeover and represent all the southern states with people who all live here, you know, kind of thing. So, or live close to here. So Moody is still in South Carolina, or, you know, but I represented in the Dirty South takeover, I was North Carolina. And there was another North Carolina person, but, you know, I'm in it. I've been here, you know, 20 plus years, going on 30. But it's because we get so much of the best and the brightest from everywhere. Probably the dopest scene I've been to that could even closely compare was North Carolina. I went to a show in Raleigh, and it just so happened that the people that I went to the show with in Raleigh, probably in the next couple of weeks after I went there, were in Atlanta doing features for some stuff out there. So there's some dope poets in there. But like, I did another show in North Carolina. I've done a few shows in North Carolina in different venues, and I see the marked difference in there. If you can cut your teeth in the ATL and you can do your shit, you good.
Yes.
Even with places that are like, you know, when people say, oh, you don't go to such and such and play, you know, like the New Yorican. And it's like, I've been there. I can pull a good 10, 15 from ATL. Ain't nobody scared.
Yes.
I did October Gallery
if
in
you
Philly.
want to, truthfully, I'm not gonna lie, you might can. This might sound crazy to somebody. You probably can pull 50. It's a lot of motherfuckers here, bro.
There are some dope people here.
Here's the thing. You on the scene longer than me, so you know motherfuckers is dope that I don't even know.
Right. I know people who have retired from the game where I'd be like, I don't even know why you left. You need to come on back and do what you do.
But that's what. Yeah. But also that's the reason why. That's the other thing. The conversation I was having with, I don't know if it was whoever I said before, is that the reason why a lot of people get these fake trophies because the killers left the scene.
Yep.
If you leave the scene and there's nobody here, they looking at the new people like they are the thing.
Right. And
so that level of what it's supposed to be is gone because you left the scene.
Right.
When myself is like, I'm taking the time off to really like learn these new poems that I have because like I said in the interview was together, like I surpassed that shit years ago, but I've been so when I get back on the scene, I'm coming for the throat now.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna take my time and get off the scene for a while and none of the new shit. But I'm never leaving the scene. That's the difference between me and I think other people. I'm gonna leave the scene. 20 years from now, I'm gonna still be on the scene. But I'm not gonna lay on it.
Yeah, you gotta do with the, you know, like with the griots, the originals, with the last poets kind of thing. They still perform.
I love them.
Right? I love those guys. But they're still performing because it's who they are. And so a lot of times we get bogged down in the family, work, this kind of thing. We kind of lose that creative edge. And for me, I like challenges. So things like the 30-30, I always do every year. I always do my 30-30 because then I got 30 poems that I can play with over time. I don't think I'll ever not do poetry or not do music because I don't think I could ever do that. I got thousands of poems that I probably should learn some new ones, but between working 16-hour days and dealing with stuff, it's hard to get that stuff in, especially when I got to learn new music for different things. And so I've been working on the book front, and so doing the books for that and trying to finish out this cookbook, which is difficult. You know, everybody's like, you need to have the cookbook, and I'm like, bruh, I am a Southern cook. I don't measure shit, which means in order for me to do a cookbook, I got to go back and recreate these same recipes, but I got to do some measurements in there and throw that stuff in there. But poetry, putting books together, I'm working on a poetic autobiography, which is proving to be more difficult than I anticipated because it's forced me to dig into some stuff that I've dealt with therapy over time, but I've never had to really get in it and write it and create it. So having to write the poems and having to step back emotionally from the poems to try to go back and edit them is difficult.
Most definitely.
And I understand. Just to go back and be like, okay, I need a break because that was hard to get out. Yeah. And then let me polish this and shine this up.
Most
and
definitely.
Then send it over to
It's funny how a poem can take you right back to where you was at. It can take you right back. It's
right
like
back there.
You had that ratatouille moment, right?
I'll be like, I can't. I'm spent. I can't do it no more. I can't do it. I don't want to write no more about this.
That's when you're writing that real shit.
Yeah, I can't write about stuff I don't know.
If only if I can be like King and steal other people's shit, then I had to feel nothing.
You know, I don't have to feel no emotions because this ain't my experience. I'm gonna just go take somebody else's stuff.
All right, let's go back because we've been going everywhere. All right. So you say you moved from North Carolina. That's where you was originally born.
Yeah, I'm from North Carolina.
Take me to, you know what?